Welcome back to the Crypt and/or Apartment of Horror. I'm thinking of switching up my name. So today we've got a single pickup, which was a pre-order from a while ago. So, In Search of Darkness, a journey into iconic 80s horror, Elvira edition. Which, aside from the branding, I'm not necessarily sure what makes it the Elvira edition, other than the extras it came with. And I think this version might be significantly longer than the regular edition of this documentary, which it's very long. It's at least 4 hours. What's the exact 280 minutes. So it is a long haul. Thankfully, it's divided up pretty well into sections. So it talks about the history of 80s horror year to year. So it starts, preamble, 1980, and then it talks about all the releases from 1980. Interviews a lot of the people involved. Interviews a lot of people that, if you're a horror fan, you would know them. And that's pretty much the format for each year. So there's a year, then there's usually a subtopic, like Rise of the Slasher Killer. So there's a lot to chew on in here. And I thought that the runtime would make it kind of unpleasant, because I had planned to sit down and one shot it. Turned out it was still pretty entertaining throughout, which I did not see that coming. So pretty impressed overall. Without further ado, let's take a look at some of the stuff you got here. So, it did take a while to ship out, and I think these were actually a manufacturer-on-demand kind of thing. Something about the printing on the disc looks a little strange, but it could just be a me thing. So I think this was delayed. Oh, Creator VC. For a moment I thought that said coronavirus, because we're all, well, but this was delayed for a while. I thought I remembered the original release date being something like November, and I think this finally came, oh my god, I think this finally came in February? Mid to late February? And we were supposed to get an early download code, but for whatever reason, it wasn't sent to me. They sent it to me when I asked. They were cool. But just kind of a lot of weird stuff going on with the release of this, but it ended up being worth it. So, I got the Elvira edition, which came with a poster and a pin, as well as, I guess, that extra footage, even though it may only be... So, it's possible that the extra footage is literally just, Elvira comes on "Hi, I'm Elvira. Thanks for buying the Elvira edition. Here's a couple of jokes." And then, at the end, it's "Well, I hope you enjoyed the Elvira edition. Yeah." And it's okay. What? Is that it? Which, seems like her sense of humor, so I appreciated it. But, anyway, I'm not quite sure what the regular price tag is on this dock, but this was $60, I think, with shipping. So, we're going to, I guess, kind of one of the main draws. I thought she signed these, but I think that might have been the next edition up or something. So, I was a little disappointed by that, but so we get a not quite 18 by 24 poster of kind of the Elvira version of the cover art, which is pretty simplistic, but it's pretty nice. So it's got all of our favorite, I almost said heroes, but you know what? Yeah, it's got all our favorite heroes, including the Amityville house. And apparently nuclear warheads in the... Oh, because 80s, Reagan, yeah. I think they talk about, the surging of conservatism at some point, which, did... Whatever your affiliation, did have an impact on the horror industry, especially with, censorship and MPAA and whatnot. but it's a pretty nice poster. So I've got a place picked out for it. I think it was actually like 23 and a half by like 17 and a half. So it didn't quite frame like the fit like the slightly smaller frame I got. Uh, but I do have a frame it'll fit. I just might have to like mat it a little bit. But overall, it's a pretty nice poster. It's like good contrast. And then the other thing from the Elvira edition was it came with a pin, which I've sort of been collecting pins off and on. Like, this was a cool pin, and I guess it's exclusive to this edition too. So it's just Elvira with a knife, 80's horror. So it's nice. The back looks a little thinner than I recall seeing for most of like the vinyl pins, but it's still cool. And then it came with like a little poster for what I think is the standard edition, like poster art, which is, legit pretty good. So I think if you find the documentary just kind of out in the wild, or you ordered like another edition, come on, focus already, camera, then I think this is the cover you get, which it's a pretty cool painting. So I almost wonder if I would have preferred to have this poster. You know what I mean? But yeah, so fairly short and sweet. It came in a pretty sturdy like shipping thing. Although one thing that annoyed me was like the tube. This is the only thing the poster came in. So as opposed to Shroud Factory, doing their tubes again. Yeah, preview by the way of our next video. Yeah. It's only, what, 1.5 overdue? But, yeah, so if you want a good documentary that'll take, well, a full afternoon to watch, I recommend In Search of Darkness. You can find them on Twitter and ask them questions about it at 80's Horror Doc. They seem like pretty cool, responsive people. And I think that might be the only way to actually get it, is to order it from them. I'm not sure if it's streaming anywhere. But, see it if you can. See it if you can. And at least the way it's organized by year and subject, like it's kind of aware of how long the documentary is. So it's easy to, make it to the end of the segment, and then there's like a big title thing for each section so you can know where you were. So if you have to watch it over like several days, it's pretty conducive to that. Although I would recommend just kind of going through it in one shot and getting like the whole journey up to I can't actually remember if it covers 1990 or if it stops at 89. I think it stops at 89, but I could be mistaken. I don't think it gives you a thing on the back, does it? Yeah, and everything cool from the 80s gets some screen time in here, even like pretty obscure things. So I don't want to spoil like too many surprises, but it'll be worth your time. But anyway, so I'm going to sign off, I think, and get this in its frame so that it's not just kind of lying around as it has been. And yeah, so go watch In Search of Darkness. You'll be happy with it. Some of the criticisms I heard is that it seems like kind of a loose collection of interviews. And I think where that criticism comes from is that some of the interviews where it's like, you ask Robert Englund about 1980, and then, in the 1981 segment, ask Robert Englund about 1981. And it feels like a lot of these were recorded it feels like a lot of the interviews with the horror people were recorded like kind of all at once and then like just edited into their section. So I do not envy whoever had to edit this, because there was a lot of footage. Also, I forgot that my name was in the credits for this, because apparently, when I bought it for $60, I was actually backing it. So hey, that was a fun surprise. Actually, I think a good solid 10 minutes of that runtime is just like the credits showing like all the backers and supporters. So it's kind of nice to have my name on that there. So with that said, we've managed to go on way too long, so we'll be back later. So like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this format. And if you want to talk about this movie, you know, hey, I'm here.